So this is the Firefox browser wasn't working right, but it worked on my mom's old laptop. So I don't know why the Firefox browser wasn't working right. But I finally got around to watching Lower Decks Season 4, Episode 5, Empathological Fallacies, which is basically about the three Betazed ladies come onto the ship and all hell breaks loose with their mental powers. They start taking over the ship and stuff. It's also a nod to the Sarek episode of The Next Generation. Apparently, T'Lyn has the Bandai, an early version of Bandai syndrome. It's messing up the ship. That's the plot. The Boimler's B plot is that he is going in the hanging out with security, and they're playing puzzles and games and stuff, and they reference other things. Also, you have the emotions of the crew running wild and doing a naked now type of thing, with a lot of them with their shirts off, which is funny. But women respectively wearing a bra. Because it's a cartoon. They can't. So we have all these characters running around now doing a cheesy nod to the Justice episode as well as Sarek, as well as other ones. This isn't a very long review because I watched it. It's silly track. I keep saying that, and it is. When they come to the cat lady helps. So the Betazed security ladies want to take over the ship. So they got to do a take over the ship story too. So there's a take over the ship going on. There's also the cat lady goes ballistic and runs around the ship acting like a Kazinti, even though she's a Kaiten, which is funny. They making jokes about milk and stuff. The counselor guy destroys the quarters and then immediately walks away. It's a very silly trek. And your emotions running wild. Middle of the season, the Betazord ladies get subdued, and then there's a scene where we have fun of that. Which means they definitely are aware of On Location meets Star Trek meets On Location and On Location. They've definitely read it. So there's all these references to this other stuff in there. I don't think he went to Pine Hill, the producer, but he went to a place like that. So, and I didn't do any live action episodes where something like that happened. But probably really what they're making fun of is the Dax and Worf thing. They're not making fun of the race relations thing. They're making fun of the Dax and Worf thing. That's probably what they're doing. They're homaging a Star Trek episode where that's got to be what it is. Because for them to find the obscure, like, Pine Hill 80s version, which would have ended with a similar gag with the Flip the Bird, which is what happened. The Flip the Bird happened. He flipped her off. Yeah. On the stage, in the play. Apparently they broke up. Yes. But in this episode, that didn't quite happen. So that's probably, Worf didn't flip the girl off, but the other character did. The only way he would have known that is if somehow he was there, or read about it. On location. So it can't be, because the chances of that happening are astronomical. Of course, it's been mentioned on the Silly Track blog, so maybe he just picked a particular thing that was mentioned in history and said, "Oh yeah, that I'll reference that." Okay, is that a Star Trek thing? I'll reference that. But that was no big deal. It was this gag scene. It's like, oh, they're in love. If they really wanted to be edgy, it would have been the two dudes on the bridge. It would have been like, and afterward they would have been like, oh my. So yeah. But they really wanted to be edgy. Because two chicks, two hot girls kissing, that wouldn't be edgy. Two dudes, that would be edgy. See? Yeah, so that's I don't know why that tangent went in there. There's just not much to the episode other than, Betazeds take over the ship, and they figure out that Talen's emotions are somehow doing it, that kind of doesn't make sense. And she kind of has Band-Aid syndrome. That kind of doesn't make sense either. He reveals her age to be 63, and also they reveal Boelmer's age to be a little older than 25, because they mentioned that Vollmer is tried to grow a beard, which would have been last season, yeah. So he's 27 season 4, yeah. So that's how old they are. They're in their mid-20s. They established it in this episode, except for Talen, who is in her 60s, but she's a Vulcan. So. But yes, so yeah, and that's kind of it. It was fine. It was silly, fine. Colorful nods to other stuff that Planet Raisa and how horny Planet Raisa is. Planet Raisa was sort of a reboot of the Planet from Justice. The Next Generation was like, okay, this horny planet they went to with the Edo is a little too much. Let's just make it a pleasure planet like the amusement park planet, but for like a Morocco kind of thing. So it predates the Free Cloud planet and the other one from Picard, because it's Risa, and Risa was the pleasure planet they go to, which is one of the other amusement park planets. I'm assuming the one from the Kirk's era was a different planet. And that planet was visited or a version of that planet was visited. All those planets, the factory floor from Jurassic Park, if you will. The Misfit Toys planet is a central planet in the Cillian Realms universe. So if they go to a planet like that, that's fine. This one was a bottle show. They were on the ship, mainly, not on the planet. This one. But yeah, and then in Starship Chimera 2019 story, they go to the Misfit Toys planet. The factory floor of Eon the Greeters there. He's of the same species as Morn from Deep Space Nine. But they're magical, apparently. And they have this planet that makes androids that are perfect and stuff. And they relive your fantasies. Yeah, like the amusement park planet and Risa and Edo planet. So you have all this Ergo stuff going on. Although the Edo planet is kind of dangerous because their laws are insane and there's no crime there. So it means if you do anything bad, they just kill you. So you have to get it. So that's not a very good planet to visit. They threaten to kill you. With that episode, that was Justice. That was a strange episode because I get what they were doing, but technically the Picard should have just transported Wesley up to the ship and left. He could have. But apparently he just didn't like Wesley, so he's like, let's have him stand trial a little bit before we grab him and take him back to the ship. It's like, why did they do that? They should have just said, oh, he's one of ours, we'll just transport him up and leave. I don't care what that Edo God guy says. He said, we could shoot it with phasers and we'll go, we just leave. Yeah. But apparently Picard was like, I don't like Wesley, so comes back to bite him when Q shows up in Cillian Realms version and says, oh, Picard doesn't like children, does he? Well, he's going to have a lot of them on his hands. Goes back to the realm of Sillytrack, goes back to Pine Hill and Evergreen, goes back to State, and goes to Cillian Realms and meets us as children. And Wesley's age, roughly. And it becomes a pandemonium as we take over the Enterprise D as teenagers. Because it's basically lower decks, basically. Yeah, so that's all.